Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hamjambo wote. How are you, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Spices of Life, streaming all the way from the United Kingdom, but streaming across the world. Today, I have guests. I have Lydia, and you can see her on the screen. And I have another guest as well, who is not on the screen, and her name is Stella. And they'll be talking to us today about life events. So today on Spices of Life, we are doing life events. But before we do that, karibuni sana. Karibuni sana. Let us know where you're tuning from. Please share. Today we are doing on a different platform, on a second platform, because we have a special event on the other platform. But please do share and let your friends know where we are streaming from. Please let us also know where you are tuning in from, and then we'll be able to join in together in this wonderful day where we are doing Spices of Life. We are doing Spices of Life. Last time we did being emotional, and we were looking at depression. So, Lydia, we missed you last time. So, if you could just introduce yourself a little bit and tell us where you're tuning from and who you are, just the names for the beginning, and then I can be able to introduce what we were doing last week. And then I can also welcome Stella to be able to speak to her as we continue on this great day. Yeah.
Thank you, Esther. My name is Lydia Nyabura Mungai. Streaming in from here in the UK. I live in the UK together with my children, and it's such an honor to to join you, Esther, as we talk about live events. Thank you.
Karibu sana, karibu sana. And Stella, would you be able to give us a shout so that we know you're there, and tell us you're tuning from where, so that we know how many continents of this world are joining us tonight, today, this evening, this morning. Some places are morning, some places are evening, some places are whatever time it is where you are. So Stella, would you be able to just give us a shout and say hi to the audience? Hello, Stella, are you there?
Hello?
No, hello, Stella. Just give people a shout out, just to say your name and tell us where you're tuning from.
Hello, my name is Stella. I'm tuning in from the States, and I'm glad to
Okay,
be hosted on here.
fantastic. You're welcome. So today we are doing the events of life. And what we are doing, we'll be reflecting on what we did last week and connect it together with the events of life and see how these events can affect people. So what we did last week, we were discussing mental health, and we went as far as discussing depression. But today we are looking at being social and looking more so at the life events. And some of the questions we'll be pondering at is, what is the most memorable time or event of your life? So for Stella and Lydia, be thinking of that, and I'll be asking you to just tell us one of the most memorable event of your life. And I'm asking the audience as well to tell us one of their most memorable event. And then the other thing I would like you to think about, what do you think? What do you think is the best ingredient for an effective relationship? So, what do you think is the best ingredient for an effective relationship? So, number one is a memorable event. And the other one, what's the best ingredient for a relationship to work? And then I will leave the other one because I don't want to give you too many questions. So, be thinking of that while I talk about what it is that we actually covered. And for the audience, please let us know where you're tuning from. And I can see Faith Jerry has joined us all the way from Iraq. Ruth Kare Queen together at Dondorigwa Kiongo. And then Virginia Moremi is joined us and she's watching us, and she say, Karibu Stella, Karibu Lydia. She's welcoming all of us all in the studio, and she say, feel free and muendelee kuporomosha show. So, and everybody else, I hope they'll be able to find where we are tuning in from. You can be able to download our app on the Kenya Diaspora Media website. You can be able to listen to us on Facebook, on Second Platform, on Jeremy Damaris's platform. And you can also later on be able to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and be able also to like our pages on the Facebook, and also be able to download the app so that you can be able to catch up with all the other programs. So tonight, my main topics are normally looking at the self-concept, And then out of that self concept, you can be able to find the purpose. What need have you been designed by God to meet, and also examining yourself at every stage of life. That is the spices: spiritual, physical, intellectual, commercial, and the other one is social and emotional all as well. So you need to be able to look at your life and examine those areas of your life. That's what spices stands for, and be able to tell us where you are in life. So one of the people I want to acknowledge at this very moment, I'm a believer in God, so I thank God for this opportunity. I also thank Kenya Diaspora Media and the CEO and his family for allowing us to use his platform. Jeremy Damaris, thank you so much. My DOO, Josie, and the producer of this program, I thank you so much for allowing us to broadcast here. And also all my viewers, I can't forget everybody who listens to us on this program. So thank you so much, our viewers, whether you're watching us from our WhatsApp group, or you're watching us from the app, or you're watching us on, rather listening to us on the app, the radio, and also watching us on YouTube live. So not YouTube, Facebook live. We normally do stream on YouTube live. That's why I keep on saying that particular part of it. So on the other side, on the WhatsApp group, may I welcome Virginia Morimi. May I welcome Mary. May I welcome Sally or Jeremy. May I welcome Reverend Mugo Amagi, and everybody else who is joining us: Emi Shiro, karibu sana, and Josie, karibu sana. And let's join in Wairish. I think it's Wairish from Canada. Karibu sana. Eliza, karibu sana. And karibu sana wageni wetu. Even those ones who are not able to comment at the moment, karibu sana. Now, I will be starting with a few questions with Stella. And Stella, I wanted to just ask you a few questions so that I can let you go and continue with what you are doing, because I know you could be busy. But one of the things I want to ask you, Stella, are you there? And I'll be coming back to hear of those answers that you gave me from the first questions I asked. Stella, are you there?
Yes, I am.
So what is one of your favorite, or not favorite, memorable kind of life events that you can remember?
There's quite a lot, but probably just succeeding in what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Such
And
as,
does that
like, for
mean school?
example,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yes, like accomplishing, finishing high school. It was an interesting part of my life, and
Mm-hmm.
just being able to just go up that one step.
Karibu sana. Thank you so much. And Lydia, do you have one very memorable event that you can remember, good or bad, either of them?
I have quite a number, Esther. Maybe that will be
Yeah.
a long another recording another time. But if you
Yeah, we can
allow me,
mention one for now. Yeah.
I'll mention just one. The day
Mm-hmm.
I relocated to the UK, it was just
Fantastic.
those things that are answered prayers that you just see unfolding before your very face, and you're like, this
Mm-hmm.
is unbelievable.
Excellent. I just wanted one for now because I know you'll be telling us about some of the events that have taken place in your life. But Stella, how old were you when you first moved to the US? I know Lydia has told us, yes, she moved to the UK, but I wanted to know, how old were you when you moved to the US, and how did that feel like?
I was around at that young age that, like, most people usually come here when they're at the US, mostly because, like, how most people come here just to pursue better careers, have more
Mhm.
opportunities, or like different parts of the world. But yeah, and just experiencing that different part from where you're used to, you're familiar to. So you just come and experience this whole new change.
Were you a teenager, or were you younger than a teenager?
It was around those younger than a teenager.
Okay. And how did you feel like leaving Kenya and going to the US? Were you excited? Were you kind of mixed feelings? How were you feeling at that particular time?
Most people usually have like different mixed feelings. Yes, you're excited to, you're going somewhere else different, but then you're kind of also not okay because you're leaving family, you're leaving the people that you're used to seeing every day, and you're just coming to a different place that you've never seen. You don't know what's gonna happen after. So you
Yeah, I
have like
must.
those
Yeah.
mixed emotions.
I am asking you this question because I have a child who is grown up now. Lydia has children as well. She'll be telling us maybe the age range where they are at. But one of the surprising thing that comes out later on in life, sometimes they may say, "Oh, we were not even happy moving to the US, or we were not happy moving to the UK. It was your decision." So those are some of the things we are looking out for, because we said it's about life events, and when we have life events, they affect our emotions as well as our relations. So they can either break us or they can make us. So that's why I'm asking this question. So Lydia, I don't know, when did you move to the UK and how did you feel about that move in the UK? I know you have already mentioned it was one of the events, the major events in your life. So when did you move? I don't want to, maybe you say the age, but you can tell me around which year did you move, and then how did that feel like?
I moved to the UK in 2016. I flew out from Kenya on the 1st of August, and so arrived in the UK on the 2nd of August. So 5 years now as a settled citizen, and it feels great for me. So 5 years ago and 2 months.
Excellent. You came when it was bright and green summer. The
Oh
winter hadn't
yeah, oh
set
yeah.
in. Yes, so so normally that is the season I would tell people to come to the UK, starting from June, July, August, and then September. Then we start telling you, just start getting ready to be prepared with the warm clothes and all that. And anyway, Stella, what is one thing you miss about Kenya?
I would say like the family, the friends that you used to have, the people that
Mhm.
you made, the connections that you used to have.
Okay,
Hmm.
and Lydia, is there any particular thing that you think I'm missing this in Kenya? I'll tell you what I'm missing. I miss the food.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah.
Me-
So any
I
other?
miss I miss sukuma. I miss getheri. I miss matumbo. I do. I miss
Okay.
motura. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you where you'll be buying matumbo after this. Tukutane nyuma ya tent. You can come for Sukuma Wiki in my little garden. I have plenty of them. I don't know even what to do with them now. I have plenty of seeds. So come for the seeds and then you can be able to grow your own. You're not very far from where I am. So karibu sana. And Stella, what did you like about the US? Is there one particular thing that you can say, this is one thing I like about the US at this very moment?
Um, yeah, there's lots. I mean, there could be lots of things to say about it, but
Mm-hmm.
the mostly the part that I seen is very like important is just that part that the education here is like free until like
Mm-hmm.
once you get to college years and university. But before that, everything else is free. It's as long as you have your mind to like push through it and know what you
Mm-hmm.
want to do, you can get what you need. But that's the most important thing that I seen that I really prefer that the education is free here.
Excellent. And while you think about what are some of the things that young people should communicate to their parents, whether in Kenya or here, Lydia can also tell us one of the things she has come to like about the UK. Yeah. So while you think about what is one of the things you think young people should communicate to their parents more, or even just communicate to their parents, Lydia, be telling us about what is it that you like about the UK?
Well, Esther, the systems work. The systems work and work very well. My
Mm-hmm.
21-year old daughter has autism, and when I
Mm-hmm.
was in Kenya, I was in the verge of giving up, especially on her progression. But when I came to
Mm-hmm.
the UK, we had an assessment done for her, and she was able
Mm-hmm.
to finish her A levels,
Yeah.
and now she's in college. And very soon she will have an independent life, something that would never have happened in Kenya.
Thank
That's
you.
something that
Now let me
gets me excited about the UK.
Thank you so much. Now, let me just welcome in Rachel Ray. You're tuned in. Asante Sana, even for all the people you have tagged in to join in, Rachel Ray. Asante Sana for doing that. And then the other people who are joining me on WhatsApp, Karibu Sana, Karibu Sana, and keep on commenting and also be responding to these questions that we are asking because it's about us. And we just want to know how our experiences coming from Kenya into the diaspora, how does it affect our emotions and how does it affect our relationships? How does it affect our communication, the dynamics between families? How does it affect all those areas? I think Lydia will be telling us a little bit more about her experiences back in Kenya and also here in the UK, and then we'll be able to see some of the changes and how the dynamics have changed. Meanwhile, Stella, what is one thing you think that young people, particularly those who are going through these life event changes, should communicate to their parents? And it could be the one thing that is your opinion. So let me hear about that.
I would say just being able to have like a honest or like an open relationship, sort of like
Mm-hmm.
communication in like in
Yeah,
anything that you're facing. Don't try to like cover it or anything like that, because you're only just gonna go deeper instead of, hearing somebody's point of view on how to face the issue that you're facing. So I'd say probably most likely better communication.
excellent. And I like that. I like that. And you say they should be honest communication. Fantastic. And just tell her on you again, what is one advice you could give young people in maintaining themselves, in maintaining their relationships with their parents, and also maintaining their relationship outside of home? So, what is one advice? Yeah, I know you've given us between the parents and our children, we need to keep on communicating. But to the young people, what is one advice you could give them?
The advice I would say is just know the difference between what is good and right, good and bad, um,
Mhm.
based on what you've been told by parents, whether it's friends, whether it's the people that you're close to or not close to, just to be able to differentiate between right and wrong. And I think as long as that's set in place, you should be good.
Excellent. And thank you so much. And Lydia, what is one thing you think our children are not telling us, especially when we are migrating from one place to the other or when we are going through life events, major changes? What is one thing you think maybe our children are not being open enough to us?
Well, Esther, I think they sympathize. I don't want to say they empathize. They sympathize with our situations. Like I'm sure my children really sympathized with what their mother was going through, and sometimes they don't want to overburden you or make you overthink or think they're not supportive of the decision that you have made, and so they
Mm-hmm.
tend to keep it to themselves and not share with you because they don't want to disappoint you. But also our culture, where we come from in Kenya and in my community especially, children shouldn't talk so much. When a father or a mother makes a decision, then they have to
Mm-hmm.
follow. But for me, I have a very open relationship with my children. But one thing that
Mm-hmm.
I think they did was to sympathize with me, but they also knew that we needed to move on. And we'll be talking more about that to start off a new life. And so they also wanted to experience what it is in the other life. Yeah, but keeping to themselves, I think is a big thing.
That's a very good answer. And maybe what advice would you give them before we move on now to the main part of your story? So, what advice would you give young people? And before you do that, Shekoyemi Mary is watching and she said, some parents don't listen or try to understand their children. I don't know how true that one is, but she's saying some parents do not try to understand. And if you would like to phone in, the number is +1 205905 6440. You can phone in with your opinion, and you can also comment on Facebook as well as on the WhatsApp, and we can be able to respond or give some of the answers. Let me just quickly check whether some people have been commenting on that. So, yes. So one of the advice you are saying is, what is one advice, Lydia, would you be able to give to our young people, you said?
Well, let's talk.
Yeah,
Just share.
yeah.
Share. And if you feel you cannot talk to your parents, find someone to talk to. Share your feelings. Share what you think with someone. I am very open to some of my friends' children, and they're able to talk to me about anything, about life and about what they are feeling, what they are feeling, especially decisions that they don't feel that they are well consulted by their parents. So for the young ones, especially my children, talk. Let's talk. You won't be killed for sharing your feelings. We are here to listen. Don't go to social media soliciting for advice from your peers or from your friends, which is okay sometimes. But as parents, we want to engage with, to hear you. We want to hear your voice. Don't fear.
Excellent, excellent. Now, Stella, before we let you go, you could be busy, but you can still stay in the studio if you feel like commenting. You can. What is one message that you can give to your parents? Yeah. So, Mr. Morimi and Mrs. Morimi. So, what's one message, Stella, you can give to your parents?
A message I would give them. I mean, they've been doing a great job doing the listening part and helping me open up to what I need and the things that I'm facing. All I can say is continue to be the blessing parents that you guys have always been and continue doing all you can. And I'll continue doing my part as well, to help you support you in anything that you need.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Stella, you are free to go, but you can stay in the studio if you want to. You can keep on commenting. You can also watch on Facebook Live, and you can write written comments as well. But for now, I would like to listen to Lydia's story, because part of that introduction was just to show that people do open up to the world. When you go through life events, the good ones and the bad ones, you need to be able to come and tell other people, because maybe you went through those as a school of life, so that you can be able to come and educate other people. So, Lydia Nyambura is your name.
Yeah.
Shall we
Yeah.
start with childhood, Lydia? Now, it's like you will be telling us most of the stories tonight or today or this morning. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you were born and your upbringing, and maybe tell us about your happy moments and not so happy moments. And I know you work with a very prestigious organization. Yes, and I saw your video when you were saying about where you used to fetch water. And I'm saying that is another Esther. That is a little bit of me. So, Lydia, without me really taking it away from you, tell us a little bit about your childhood, where you were born, your upbringing, the good and the bad moments about that.
Yeah, thanks, Esther. Yes, my name's again Lydia, but I'm also Mama Jerry, or Mama Favor. Deborah is 19 years old, and Favor is 21 years old. Um, and I work for a very prestigious organization, as you said. I work for World Vision UK. I have worked for World Vision for 18 years now. Oh my gosh. I started off as a volunteer. I am a certified coach by John Maxwell. I am a podcaster. I'm a YouTuber. I'm an inspirational. I do inspirational talks. And I'm all those, but all those are titles, Esther. And I'm a born again Christian. I love God in a very personal way. But what people don't know about me is that I was born in a small village called Kenagofu. I hope you remember Kenagofu, when Kenagofu was
Kwa waru na
Kenagofu those days.
kafishi. Yes.
Yes, Baru,
Mhm.
fishy. And I do remember when I was growing up, there was a stereotype about our village. And I'm the firstborn. I have two sisters and one brother. He's still living in Kenya, born and raised by a single mom, who gave birth to me when she was a teenager. And you remember those days, we would say
Mhm.
that child is a child born out of wedlock, a child who was
Mhm.
born in a kitchen. And there were stereotypes around that. But I'm so grateful to God for giving me my grandparents, who loved me and who raised me as their own. And of course, those days, my grandfather was very tough. And so my mom had to run away from home to go and look for greener pastures in Nairobi. And so I had the joy of being raised by my grandparents. And as a result, I have a very tight, warm relationship with them. I'm one of the best grandchildren that they have. Well, growing
Mhm.
up wasn't easy. I am sure some of some of the people we went to school with will be watching this. I used to call myself Nyabrawa Shosho, a grandmother's child, because I didn't know my mom very well. We didn't have a very tight relationship with her. I didn't know much
Mhm.
about her. I would only see her go and come. And so I identified with my grandparents. And I went through primary school very well. I remember working really hard in primary school because I didn't want to fail and be a failure, and live in poverty. Because I mean, my family was a poor family, and being born in a single parent's home, I didn't want to carry the
Mhm.
stereotype of being a single parent again, or dropping out of school. And so I worked so hard in school. And finishing class 8, then I passed so well.
Mhm.
I remember I was the first girl in our zone. Yes, and I was
Mhm.
celebrated everywhere. But you know what, Esther? I did not
Mhm.
have enough school fees to go to high school.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so my grandmother, my mother, my uncles did all they could to support this very hardworking young child who had performed
Mhm.
so well. And so I was taken to a very a remote school in the village. You
Mhm.
know, those school that was known
Mhm.
for failures. That is a school for
Yeah.
failures. That is where I
Yeah.
was I was taken. And I was very upset about all this, and my community was also very upset about this. And I remember a few
Mhm.
people coming in to try and help me. One of the people who helped me was my late auntie Wagare. God
Mhm.
rest her soul in peace. She knew how hardworking I was, and she knew my dream, because I used to dream, and I would tell anybody who cared to even listen that I would be a very wealthy woman. And so I had a
Mhm.
nickname called Bia Money, and I would help
Okay.
children to school. Yes, I would help children to go to school. I knew I would
Mhm.
fly with an aeroplane. I had no idea. We didn't even own a bicycle. We didn't even own a
Mhm.
proper car. But I had this
Mhm.
dream that was driving me, telling me that Lydia, there is a better life. That you can fly with that aircraft that is flying up there. And so I told anybody who dared to listen that I would one day I would work
Mhm.
for an organization, and although I didn't know what an organization was, and fly
Mhm.
all over. I didn't know all over where. And so my auntie saw this girl who had a dream. And bless my grandmother, she also saw that dream. And they got another school for me where I finished my A levels at that time. And it was a
Mhm.
miracle for me because we were struggling. I remember many times when I would be sent away from school because I had no school
Mhm.
fees. And going home was sometimes those moments that you don't want to remember. Why? Because I knew my mother could not afford to pay for me the fees. And my grandmother and my grandfather, of course, had other children that they were taking care of. But by the
Mm-hmm.
grace of God, Esther, that is maybe why I work for a charity organization. I don't know who paid my fees for 4 years. One of
We
them
thank God
was
for
my
that.
late aunt,
Yeah.
but some we got bursaries from school, and I was able to
Mm-hmm.
finish my O levels, my ordinary my form 4 at that time, and I passed quite well.
Mm-hmm. To me, that's a very
Uh,
inspiring story. You were Nyabura wa Shosho, I was Nduta wa Shosho, right? So we have some things
yeah,
in common, but I'm not going to tell my story today. I'll tell my story another day. So tegea sana, so that particular time you'll be able to hear my story. So we've moved on now from school. Tell us about your adulthood. Kuja kuolewa, when you got married and then having your children and maybe the ups and downs that you have gone through adulthood. I wish more people could hear this story because it's very inspiring. Because look, you've come from a very humble background, we say, right? A very humble background. Your grandma, I don't think she was as educated. Mine wasn't, right? She was more happier if I went to fetch water for her and I made the fire for her than even going to school. But she didn't stop me from going to school. So to me, this is a very inspiring story for that person who could be struggling. Somebody paid your fees through bursary. Some people you don't know who paid your fees. Mine the same. When I was in Form 3, Form up to Form 4. I don't know who paid my school fees, but it was paid and I finished. And like I'm saying, I'll tell my story another day. So tell us, Lydia, about now adulthood. Yeah, you've come up, finished
yeah,
secondary school, and you're going into life now. What about that? And before I just
yeah,
do that, let me read something Virginia Moremi has said. Parents should also have time with their children so that you can understand what they can be going through in their stages of life. They need our support 100%. Lydia, I don't think you had all the support from your parents that particular time, but you can't blame them. But there was your grandma and there was that auntie who was understanding you. So the goodness with being in Kenya, and that's why I was asking, what do you miss about Kenya? We have an extended family. And if you have a good extended family, then they can be able to support you. You can have good aunties, you can have good uncles, and you can have good grandmothers, the ones that say, wacha tushikilie huyu mtoto. She is the beacon of hope in this life. So, and then Joshi Rish is saying, hello, Esther. Thanks for the show. It's and for our wonderful guests. So, Lydia, somebody saying, thank you so much for joining us today. So let's move on to adulthood. Tell us a little bit about some of your adulthood experiences. You see, we are moving on childhood events. Now we are moving on to adulthood events.
yes, Esther,
Yeah,
and thanks to our viewers again. And yes, I finished Form 4, and my next steps was to go to uni. But
yeah.
uni those days were days when the help was held by the rich, and so I couldn't manage to go to join uni immediately. Although I was a very bright student, I was those students
Mm-hmm,
choppy, and I moved to the city to join my mom. And my mom was
mm-hmm,
very happy that I was able to finish all levels at that time, and she welcomed me to life. But I knew there was more. Esther,
mm-hmm,
I remember moving in to support my auntie for 1 year as I figured out
mm-hmm,
what to do with my life. and
mm-hmm.
and I used to work as a house help. Those house helps
Okay.
in Kenya.
Mm-hmm,
Yes, I work
mm-hmm,
as a house help to be able to provide for myself. But even as I worked, I knew I had a dream. I knew I wanted a better life. And of course, that time I had given my life to God, and I knew that God had a better life for me, even at
mm-hmm,
that time. And steps forward, I started praying for a life partner, and of course the youth in church provided a good platform. But for me, a
mm-hmm,
priority was to make sure that I got to uni. And I met the love of my life, my late husband, Gibson Mungai. And when you're talking about the memorable moments, one was during my wedding day. It was beautiful. I was this beautiful bride who walked down the aisle smiling all the way. I remember when the women came to pick me up from my auntie's house in Nairobi. There were children who were lined up singing Ohikiwaje. So there was a song that we would sing, Ohikiwaje so lehakue. The coming of the Lord Jesus Christ has come nigh. And they celebrated me. And it was such a joy to be joined to the love of my life. And we had such a beautiful marriage. I mean, people talk about marriages, and I counsel so many people. I talk to so many people who are struggling in marriage, and I always say that my husband was God sent. I remember that I prayed so hard before we got engaged, and I told God, God, if it is not this man, during my engagement, I want you to confirm it. And I remember the minister who was engaging us in church prophesied over us. And he told me very specifically, Lydia, God will take you to the nations of the world, and your voice will be heard in the nations of this world. And this relationship is to help you, to mold you, to become that person who will speak to the nations. And I was like, wow, this is a confirmation that this is the right relationship. And so, yeah, we lived together, humble marriage, humble relationship, humble family. Most of my friends knew my husband, who loved God with the whole of his heart. We were church elders. I was a deaconess in church. I was in the leadership in church. And God blessed us with 2 children. When I saw my firstborn daughter, I looked at her and I said, this is the favor of God. And I lifted her up to God and I told God, thank you for favoring me to take care of her soul. And we called her favor. And after 3 years again, God blessed me again with a prophetic child, a child of excellence. And I looked at her and I said, again, we will call her Deborah, because she will become a leader and a child of excellence. And she will be a bridge for us to take us to excellence. And that is what my children have become. They are door openers for me. God has favored us through favor, and God has opened doors for us through our daughter Deborah. And yes, we enjoyed life, and it wasn't an easy life for us, of course, like any other couple. We had our ups and downs. We had our time of luck and our time of plenty. And I do remember we enjoyed a relationship for 12 years with my husband, the love of my life. And I remember on the 10th year, I fell sick. We had gone to look for to visit one of my friends, and our best couple, very lovely couple. They had a child, and I started having this migraine headache, and I didn't understand what it was. And I remember going straight to bed, and this headache was increasing minute after minute. And I started vomiting. And when the best lady, Mama Faye, she doesn't mind me mentioning her, Mama Faye, Pastor Nganga's wife, came into the bedroom. She saw me visiting. I was shaking. And she asked me, Lydia, what is going on? And I couldn't talk. And she quickly called my husband. And he said, maybe you need to take her to hospital. And my husband came. He came and he picked me up and he drove me to Nairobi Hospital. And by the time I got to Nairobi Hospital, Esther, I was not well. I knew I wasn't well. I had this headache that was increasing minute by minute. And when the nurses saw me, they said, this is an emergency case. And they drove me right to have the tests run. And tests were run, a test after the other. And they confirmed that I had meningitis. And it wasn't well. And I do remember that I was in hospital for almost a month. And those who came to see me in hospital knew that I wasn't well and I wasn't improving. And the doctor kept telling me, you're telling my husband, she is not well. I am so blessed to have an auntie who is married to a Mendik, Dr. Joroge, and they got me the right, that made sure that I had the right doctor in Nairobi Hospital. But I do remember staying there, and I wasn't improving. The doctors needed to run more tests to confirm what type of meningitis it was. I was secluded in a room all alone. And after about what looked like a whole month for me, I remember my husband later told me that the doctor said that I needed to be released. Why? Because my insurance then, I was already working for World Vision. That's something that I didn't mention. Maybe I will talk about my career journey another time. But I had a very good insurance cover. And when he looked at my insurance cover and my condition then, he said that Lydia is not improving and her medical cover insurance will be depleted. Please take her home. Let's book her for further for clinics. But the truth is, because my husband told me after, the doctor had given up. They said she's not going to recover. I had lost my sight. You know, meningitis affect the brain. I was a semi. I had this numb. The spinal cord was numb because it also affects the spinal cord, and and I remember being driven out by with a wheelchair, and I left home, and I left for home, and I was at home for I don't know how long. God bless my house help then. I had a very good house help, but my husband knew that I wasn't going to recover. I do remember very well. One day, I was sleeping on the couch. I knew that the communities that I was serving that time with World Vision were praying for me. I had a group of children at that time. Those two that were in Reruta then knew that the praying children of Reruta and children clubs that I was leading at that time. I knew they were praying for me. But deep within me, I also had a will to live. I looked at my children, especially Favor, who I didn't know the condition then, but she wasn't talking very well, and I knew she wasn't well. I looked at my husband. I looked at my grandmother who believed that I would be the savior of my family. I looked at my mother who believed that I was this child who was a shining star in her family to support her other siblings. I looked at many grandmothers and grandfathers and orphaned children that were looking up to me for support. And I cried to God. I told God, God, I want to live. I don't want to die. I want to live. I don't want to die. God heard my prayer. And I remember sleeping on the couch one day, and there was this bright light that struck my face. And Esther, I told you when I was leaving the hospital, I couldn't see. I was blind. I couldn't see. I wasn't coordinating well because my brain had kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say a semi-cabbage. I was there. And this weak leader who had a numb backbone and couldn't even walk properly, I could see for the first time. And I called my house help. And she knew that I wasn't also talking. I lost my speech then. I used to be an orator, those who are in uni with me, and those who were in high school with me. My colleagues knew that I was an orator. I used to go for international meetings and I would command this speech. Very fluent girl who would speak English like I was born in an English speaking country, And I could speak, I could see, and I called my house help then, and I told her, come. And she came running because for once, Lydia can speak. And she asked me, Mama Favor, are you okay? I told her to call my husband. My husband was at work then, and he came, and he came. I don't know how far he was, but he drove and came, and he looked at me, and I remember him kneeling down and lifting up his hands and saying, God, thank you. thank you that my wife is back to life again. And I remember we went back to, he drove me back to hospital then, and the doctor checked me and he said, this can only be a miracle. Can only
It
be
was
a
a
miracle.
miracle. It
And
was a
God
miracle. And
then.
yeah, and I can see, meningitis kills within a very short time sometimes. By
Yes.
the time you feel that migraine, by the time the scalp, on top of your the brain, the brain, it's the skin that covers the brain. So by the time
Yeah.
you're feeling the migraine, it's really,
Yeah.
really bad. So how you
Yeah.
came back to us, it's a miracle. I can only say it's a miracle. So we thank God for that miracle. Now, when you were speaking about your husband earlier on, you said my
Yeah.
late husband.
Yeah.
What happened then? I'm just gonna take you away now from the meningitis miracle and also bring
Yeah.
you now. There is one post you had posted, I think it's today on Facebook, or was it
Yeah.
yesterday? And we are
Yeah.
comparing that Lydia of then and that
Yeah.
Lydia of now, and it's a
Yeah.
very, a totally different picture. So tell
Yeah.
us what happened to your husband and when, and then what changed and how did these changes happen. Because last week we were talking about being emotional. Now you've kind of shown us very beautiful happy emotions and then also sad kind of a period of life, but you're smiling now thinking about it because a miracle happened. So would you be able just to take us again now the journey after you've gone home, the miracle of meningitis is healed, you've started
Yeah.
life again. Now what happens after this? And before you do that, we have Geoffrey Kikurui Koros. I think you know Geoffrey. And he said, Lydia
Yes.
Nyambura, hi, greetings. And then Josiris is saying amen. Josie is saying amen. And Rahab Mumbi Bugwa is saying they're tuned in. And then Virginia is saying, wow, what a miracle, what a testimony, woman of God. So before we move on to that, yeah, I mean, let me just quickly check whether the other side is also getting it clear. Yes, we do have a number of people joining there as well. And may we continue with the testimony and also the next phase of the event that happened to your life. Yeah.
Yes, I will link it to that, to my meningitis, Esther, because
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
my life is a journey. I can only say so. In
Mm-hmm.
2009,
Mm-hmm.
I got married in 1998. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
2008, that is when meningitis struck. In
Mm-hmm.
2000, I remember very well in November, I was back to
Mm-hmm.
hospital again because I had a lapse. I was back to hospital again. And I remember I was
Mm-hmm.
there for 1 week. And when after I returned back home from the
Mm-hmm.
hospital, I remember, of course, I had a day off, a week off
Mm-hmm.
to recover. And
Mm-hmm.
and that the very week, the week that leads to the 12th of December. I remember that week,
Mm-hmm.
the week of 9. We were at home with my husband, and my neighbor Baba
Mm-hmm.
Joki had joined us, and he had lost his wife the previous year, and we were there
Mm-hmm.
encouraging him to keep on and live on, and if God ever blesses him with a wife, he should move on.
Mm-hmm.
But even
Mm-hmm.
then, I remember telling my late husband Gibson, Gibson, by the way, I feel like, last year I was struck by this disease, meningitis, and it
Mm-hmm.
was fatal. God brought me back to life, and
Mm-hmm.
this year again I am unwell. I don't think I have a long life to live, and so
Mm-hmm.
if I die before you, because I feel like I don't have a long life, I feel like I will not get to 40. I was still in my mid 30s then. I want you to
Mm-hmm.
remarry. And I want you to marry so and so. I even gave him the name of one of the widow ladies. I told
Mm-hmm.
him, you see, so and so. She's a very good woman, and she's widowed, and she's your friend, and she's my friend. I wouldn't mind him, her taking care of my children. So after
Mm-hmm.
I am dead, gone and buried, mourn me for a year. Get this woman, box her properly, and before she
Mm-hmm.
she wakes up from her dreamland, you will have
Mm-hmm.
Rashid and signed the documents to show that she is your wife. And he looked at me. I told him it's because I feel like I don't have a long life. And that was it. What I didn't know is that we talked on a Wednesday, that on Saturday, my husband would leave home very early in the morning to drive to work in my Mahio, down my Mahio, the Masai land, and not return back home. I remember that day very well. So many events happened, but in the evening, I remember being called by a police officer. One of my celeb girls, Jolene, Jackie Matuvia's parents called me, and
Yeah.
they told Jackie Matubia has a boyfriend, and she wants to talk to this, an auntie, and they feel that I'm the right auntie. I didn't know they were confusing me to take me to my best couple home, Pastor Nganga's home. And when I got there, I got this call from a police officer. And those days, we would have weird calls from people, and they would ask us for our head. And so when I got this call, the person asked me, "Who am I talking to?" I asked him, "Who are you calling?" And he said, "And who are you?" He said, "I'm a police officer." I said, "A police officer?" And by this time, my best couple had come out of the house, and he was holding me at the back and speaking in tongues. And I looked at him. I asked him, "Why are you speaking in tongues, Baba Faith?" And the police officer asked me, so who are you? I said, "I am Lydia." And he asked me, "Do you know Gibson?" I said, "Yes, I know Gibson." "Who is he to you?" "He's my husband." And he told me Gibson was involved in a road accident in the morning. And so in my head, death did not hit, because this was a guy who had a vision, who wanted us to relocate to Botswana, and after Botswana, come to England. And we were rising up that time as a young couple. We were doing well. He had big dreams. He was going for this 11 million, I remember, some millions of money contract. He can't be dead. And I told him, "Now, go to his wallet right now. Get a medical card. You will find a number of an ambulance. Call the ambulance right away. And let's meet at Nairobi Hospital or even Karen Hospital." And he told me, "Sorry, Mrs. Moai, when I was talking to your husband, he died." Aliaga in Swahili. I couldn't understand what he's even talking about. And he disconnected his phone. Before he disconnected, he said, "Let's meet at the city mortuary." And I wondered, what is that about? Like, what is that about? And my best man was here speaking in tongues. I left him there speaking in tongues, and I went to the house. And there was Jackie Matubia's parents, one of my young people and friends, Duncan Mwangi, and the children were there. And they were all crying. I told them, "Keep quiet, shut up, all of you. There is this call from a police officer who said that Gibson kuaga. Kuaga ni kufanya nini? Kuaga." And then I couldn't coordinate what this was. And they were all crying. I told them, "Please keep quiet and tell me what this is all about." And it dawned to me that something was really wrong. I remember calling my best friend, Shiro, Elishifa. They don't mind me mentioning them, Elishifa. And I told her, "Elishifa, I got a call from a police officer, and he said Gibson ameaga. Ameaga. What is kuaga?" And he screamed, "Lydia, what are you talking about?" I said, "Shiro, what is kuaga? What is dying?" And she wasn't telling me what it is. I called my pastor then, Pastor Moliri, wife, and I told her, "Pastor, someone called me, said he was a police officer, and they told me Gibson is dead in Swahili. What is that about? What is that name?" And she screamed again, "Lydia, where are you? I'm in my best man's house, and please give them your phone. Like, give Baba, the pastor my phone." And I listened to the chat, and it dawned on me that Gibson was dead.
So you were
Esther,
in a
I
shock.
remember
Yeah,
in
you were
my
in a
head,
state
and
of
I
shock throughout.
thought,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
God, what have you done to me? How can you do this to me? I'm recovering from an illness that almost took
Mm-hmm.
my life. Just a week ago, I was in hospital. Just a month ago, I got a big loan for this month to relocate to go to Botswana. And I have my own two children. I am barely 40. I'm in my mid 30s. How can you do this to me? What have you done?
Mm-hmm.
And it was the starting point of a long journey. I argued with God. I told him, God, I cannot be a widow. I am not a widow. I cannot be a widow at 35. I know widows are from 60, and I'm barely
Mm-hmm.
40. I am not a widow. Esther, it was the beginning point of a
Mm-hmm.
long journey for me. And you know, in Kenya, we have Mashakaya, which we don't have here amongst the English people. We only have it
Mm-hmm.
amongst our communities. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
people poured in my home on the Sunday, because it's 12th of the Saturday, on Sunday, from all over when they heard the news. And I remember going
Mm-hmm.
to identify his body at the mortuary, and I couldn't take it. And for once, I remember seeing people at the city mortuary
Mm-hmm.
on my way to home, because I used to pass through Gong Road. And it
Mm-hmm.
hit me. These are people. I
Yeah.
remember seeing my husband's name on a newspaper. And I remembered many times, when you see a newspaper on obituaries and you're like, oh, this is a young girl. Oh, this is an old man. Oh, this
Mm-hmm.
was a pastor.
Yeah.
Oh, this was
Mm-hmm.
so and so. It never hit you. But I remember seeing his name on the newspaper, and it hit me. Oh, God, I am a widow. I
So you were
remember,
in a state of shock for a long time. Yeah, you were in
yes,
a state of
yes,
shock for a long time. And then there's a lady friend of yours, I believe, say Esther Measure Sim. She says Lydia's story is inspiring, particularly, the way it started. And again, now the next phase where you'll be taking us after the widowhood. And then
yeah,
she says Lydia's story is very inspiring. I love the way she tells it with a lot of passion. And Charity Moirori, I am tuned in. And Nyambura is a walking miracle. And then Virginia says, wow, it looks like we share a wedding anniversary the same year with Lydia. So connect with Virginia Moremi, and then you can get to know her. She's one of our best friends. She's the mother to the girl who was in the studio earlier. And then Josie say, Jesus, you told him who to marry and then who to marry. Okay. And just, that's so sad. That's what she say. And then Waringa Jogu say, that's so sad, Nyambura, more grace. So now you are now kind of waking up from the shock almost, because now it's
yes,
dawning on you, you've become a widow. So take
yes.
us from there. What happens after that?
Esther, I
Mm-hmm.
what struck me most was
Yeah.
standing at the graveside.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot describe the pain, the sorrow, the emptiness, the grief, the hopelessness, the brokenness that I felt standing at Langata to see my
Mm-hmm.
husband's body being lowered to the
Mm-hmm.
grave. And I remember my in-laws did not
Mm-hmm.
return home even at that time to even
Okay.
condole with me. And
Mm-hmm.
days that followed were days of sorrow. As I said, I already had a big loan that
Mm-hmm.
this supportive woman got from the
Mm-hmm.
bank and from our circle to support my husband's business as he locates to Botswana. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
so I was starting a life with a meager salary. I was a junior
Mm-hmm.
officer at that
Mm-hmm.
time. The likes of Charity know that I was just those glass those workers that are just there.
Tea
My
girl,
salary
almost,
was
yeah.
very little. I had
Mm-hmm.
bills to pay, which I had no idea how they are paid. I was this spoiled women. I was
Mm-hmm.
just a spoiled girl who did not even know how to spend her money. Anyway, And
Yeah.
start alive. And here I was. We started
Mm-hmm.
off. My
Mm-hmm.
mother-in-law said, we don't even know
Mm-hmm.
you. We don't know you.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I remember seeing them, in Kenya, when my father-in-law had passed away earlier, there is a,
Mm-hmm.
when
Mm-hmm.
you're doing the administration process, there is a list of
Mm-hmm.
the children's name. My husband's name
Mm-hmm.
was not there, nor was my name there, and my children's, and my late husband, nobody's name was there. It's like we never existed.
Was
And I do
Yeah,
remember
just
going
allow
out.
me. Yeah. Allow me to ask you a question. Was it that you had fell out with your in-laws? Did they ever used to recognize your marriage, or what had happened? Was there a fallout? And again, this is taking us back to, that communication that Stella was talking about. It's
Yeah.
important that we communicate not only to our children, not only to our husbands, not only to the people we work with, also the mother-in-laws and the father-in-laws, our other extended family, so that when things happen, we know where we are standing. So, did you kind of have a strained kind of relationship with them?
I got married in church, so they were there when I was getting married, but they didn't like
Okay.
the fact that I was a child from a single parent home.
All
You know,
right. Okay. Mm-hmm.
they believed that a child from a single parent's home is from a prostitute
Yeah.
family.
Oh, so they were stereotyped. In one of our programs here by Figure Eight, we call her Ray, or Rachel Ray, right?
Yeah,
She was talking
yeah,
about a similar kind of a situation where, a girl had a child, and the
yeah,
girl had started hating her own child because her mother, the grandmother
yeah,
of the child, was
yeah,
hating on her. Now, you
yeah.
see, this now is extended to the in laws. I can understand very much where you're coming from, the stereotype. And that
Yes.
stereotype can bring in some of the things we've been talking about, depression and the rest of them. So go on, let me not distract you from the flow of the story.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they didn't like me, but my
Mm-hmm.
husband was always there. He always reminded them. I
Mm-hmm.
remember there's a time we fell out with my mother-in-law and my sisters-in-law, and he
Mm-hmm.
reminded them, Lydia
Mm-hmm.
is my wife. They wanted me to go and live with them, and they thought that I was more bright than and more
Mm-hmm.
educated than my husband,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm from this single
Mm-hmm.
parent family, and so I don't belong there. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember my husband reminding them again and
Yeah.
again, Lydia is
Mm-hmm.
my wife.
Mm-hmm.
I married her because of my needs, not your
Mm-hmm.
needs. And so you
Mm-hmm.
point her, you're pointing me. And that was settled. But I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know that they didn't like me to that extent. I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know until now when my husband died. So they never returned to my house. My lovely
Mm-hmm.
mother and my grandmother and my sister
Mm-hmm.
stayed with me for quite some
Mm-hmm.
time. And I
Mm-hmm.
knew that in this journey I was alone,
Mm-hmm.
and it was tough. I had a
Mm-hmm.
meager salary, as I said, barely
Mm-hmm.
enough to pay my bills, barely enough to even pay school fees for my children. And I remember walking to the
Mm-hmm.
headmaster, the principal's office one day, and I told her, I cannot even pay the fees. So I will take my children to
Mm-hmm.
public school. And she told me, Lydia, we know
Mm-hmm.
you, we know your parent, we know your husband, and we know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot take your
Mm-hmm.
children out of school. We will subsidize, you pay what you can, and not a
Mm-hmm.
maximum of 5. And it was a high cost school then.
Mm-hmm.
And life was difficult. Esther, I remember one day when
Mm-hmm.
I looked at my fridge and there was no food to feed my
Mm-hmm.
children. My fridge was empty.
Mm-hmm.
My bank account had the minimum balance.
Mm-hmm.
I had, the way you have a shop nearby where you get foodstuffs from.
Mm-hmm.
When Kukopa, there are
Kukopa.
shopkeepers
Mm-hmm.
who have like a book where they write when you
Mm-hmm.
borrow, when you carry things on
Mm-hmm.
on credit. We were in.
Mm-hmm.
I had so many debts that this woman knew that I wouldn't pay, And so we
Mm-hmm.
couldn't even pay. I couldn't even pay. And so I was at my edge, broken. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know. My mom kept calling me to go for Warus in Kinagofu. But
Mm-hmm.
now I didn't even have fare for Turaga to get me from Nairobi to Geshagi
Mm-hmm.
and back. Nor did I have money to send her to bring me potatoes. And
Mm-hmm.
I looked at my fridge, and of course I didn't know what to feed my children with. And I
Mm-hmm.
went to my bedroom and I knelt down and I
Mm-hmm.
told God, God, you've said that you're the husband to the widow
Mm-hmm.
and you're the father to the fatherless. My husband and I served you faithfully.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I have supported so many orphaned children through the organization that I work with.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bible tells me to pray the Lord's Prayer. Give us today our
Our
daily
daily
bread. And I
bread.
know that
Mm-hmm.
prayer is deep, but I'm not
Mm-hmm.
praying for wisdom. I am not praying for anything else. I am praying
Mm-hmm.
for bread to give to my children.
Mm-hmm.
And I also looked at myself, and something deep within me told me,
Mm-hmm.
Lydia, you are not forgotten. You will never be forgotten. I love you with an everlasting love, and I wish you know so. I wish you know how much I am concerned about your life and about your situations. And even this situation is not hidden
Mm-hmm.
before my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And Esther, I don't know where gratitude, it was like a liver of gratitude, started streaming in my heart. And I started
Mm-hmm.
looking at the positive side. And I said, my husband and I were always together, including that trip in the morning. I asked him where he was going, although he didn't respond, but I would have followed
Mm-hmm.
him for sure. I would have been
Mm-hmm.
with him.
Mm-hmm.
I said,
Mm-hmm.
last year, I would have
Mm-hmm.
died. I didn't die.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, God.
Yeah.
When my husband died, I would have been in the
Mm-hmm.
same car with him,
Mm-hmm.
and both of us
Mm-hmm.
would have died, and my children would have been left orphaned. I
Orphans.
wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
I am alive. I listened to my heartbeats and I said, this heart is beating, and as long as
Mm-hmm.
it beats, I am alive.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows me that there is something that is deep inside of me that
Mm-hmm.
is not this body that I see, that it is not Lydia, and that is the Spirit
Mm-hmm.
of God. And so, without a doubt, I know that God is with me. And I rose up from the dust of widowhood that day, and I said with my hand, I hold a pen to write my story. And this will be the end of a story of being rejected, being desperate, of being being broken, of hopelessness, of being that lady who cannot provide for her children, of
Mm-hmm.
lack. And I will rise up from my dust. I don't know where that confidence came from, but that is what I told myself. And I said, with my life,
Yeah.
I will write a story of inspiration, because there is a reason why we go through the journey of our lives. And I told God, after raising me up from the dust of widowhood and the dust of hopelessness that I am in,
Mm-hmm.
I'll
Mm-hmm.
become a well of inspiration to inspire others to hope. Those who feel hopeless, I want to inspire them to hope. Those who are broke
Mm-hmm.
and broken, I want to be an inspiration to them. And so I want to use my pen to rewrite
Mm-hmm.
my story, a story of hope. And Esther, after
Mm-hmm.
I rose from my feet, the first
Mm-hmm.
person to call me was a lady that I had not heard from and her husband
Mm-hmm.
for such a long
Mm-hmm.
time, Mama Shiro. She called me and she asked me, Lydia, are you home? I was still weeping even then. And I told her,
Mm-hmm.
yes, Mama Shiro, I am home. She told me I'm coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I called house help. God bless her. I wasn't paying her even a single shilling, but she was still with me. I told my house
Mm-hmm.
help, boil some water. She told me, Mama,
Mm-hmm.
Mama Favor, I don't want to boil. What am I boiling water for? I told her boil water and put it in a flask. Mama Shiro is coming. I didn't know that that would be the starting point of God answering
Mm-hmm.
prayer. And he had answered so many prayers for me. Mama Shiro came. She drove
Mm-hmm.
into my compound. She opened the boot, and there was everything that you need in a kitchen, starting
We
from
thank
steel
God.
wire.
Mm-hmm.
You know that
We
steel wire?
thank God.
It's where
Yes,
pottery
Sufuria.
and soap and kipande soap and
Yeah.
and and
Yeah.
and unga and bread and everything that I
Yeah.
needed. And her husband,
Yeah.
I don't know whether they had
Yeah.
discussed, gave me 1,000 shillings, and he told me, Lydia, please
Yeah.
restart your life. And from
Yeah.
after 2 months again, I got promoted at work after what started like an opening of life for me
Yeah.
to where I am today.
We
I hope
thank God.
there
Do you
is
know
some
what, Lydia, you're doing? Yeah. Do you
who
know
is
what you're doing?
yeah,
Yeah, we've been talking about knowledge. So we were saying, what is that knowledge you know about God? And how do you use that knowledge? So one of the things you've used is just that simple Lord's Prayer. When you knelt down and said, Lord, give us this day our daily bread. Lord, I have
yeah,
done A, B, C, D for the orphans. Yes, and you have said you're the father of the fatherless and you're the one who supplies to the widow, right? And it was
yeah,
answered. So there is a place where we come to and face our God as our Father and say, Lord, look, this is the way I am, right? So, Lord, I need you to help me from where I am, and then just show me. And then God reveal to you the spirit within you. So you're not just
yeah.
Lydia, this body. There is a
No.
spirit, and the Holy Spirit dwells in your spirit and is able to lead you. So we have a few people. Joanne Karuri has joined us, and she says, better late than never. And then Sal Na says, Lydia, you are awesome. You're a conqueror. And then Virginia says, Lydia, God is faithful to his children as far as we are in his fine yard or vineyard. That is a testimony, my sister, and a very powerful testimony Josie adds on that. So you're inspiring people. And you're not only inspiring them now, those ones who will be coming to watch later. And I'm telling also the people who are watching now, if they can go to your profile and see those
Yeah,
two pictures, you know, the ones I was telling you, yeah, remember to mention this. The picture of the widow is there, and the picture of the bright Lydia that you are seeing right now, they're both there. Now, I'm going to bring you now to the world now. So tell us about the journey to the
yeah,
UK and the way forward. And I know you have a very long story. Another day we'll come again and meet here because we also share one of the organizations that has trained us to be the life coach that you are. And hopefully this fulfilling the
yeah,
potential or bringing out everything that we are can be tabled and also be able to encourage people on one-to-one or in small groups or in a bigger group because we want true stories like this that touch people's lives. You know, when people feel like they're discouraged, they feel hopeless, they can be told your story. You can tell them their story, your story, and say, look, this is where I was. And this is where God has brought me. It's not by my power, it's not by my own strength, it's by the Spirit of God that have been enabled up to this place. So, Lydia, tell us now the journey to the UK and
yeah.
how you were transferred from the Nairobi office up to the UK office. And your process was very fast because I came here in 2003. I got my citizenship in 2018. But you've told me you've been here since 2016 and you're already fully a citizen. Go for it.
Um, Esther, my journey to the UK. I continued
Yeah.
working really hard for World Vision. I love my organization. I love World
Mm-hmm.
Vision. I love the work that we do. And I
And you
wasn't
started as a
transferred.
volunteer. You started as a volunteer.
Yes,
You need to mention that, sometimes people think because it's World Vision, some godfather just took you there. Although we do need people in our lives to take us there.
yeah.
But I believe yours was God the Father who landed you there as a volunteer first, and then slowly by slowly you built your portfolio.
Yeah, and maybe that's a story that we can talk another day, because it's true I had no
Okay.
father. There was a guy. I
Mm-hmm.
won't mention his name because I have not asked him whether I could mention his name. He found
Mm-hmm.
me after we got married. Of course, our ups and
Mm-hmm.
downs. I had a small
Mm-hmm.
biashara. You see the roadside
Mm-hmm.
kiosks in
Mm-hmm.
Kawangware. I used to have a
Mm-hmm.
roadside kiosk where I used to sell
Mm-hmm.
bananas and chips funga.
Yeah.
This chips
Okay.
funga and fruits and all that. And I remember
Yeah.
that man looking at me, and he said, "Lydia, you have greatness within you.
Yeah.
And would you mind volunteering in an organization when you have some time, because you're a very good Sunday school teacher. You relate so well
Mm-hmm.
with children. We used to be children
Mm-hmm.
pastors in our church, and
Mm-hmm.
I remember I started off as a volunteer, and when
Mm-hmm.
they were hiring staff, they they hired me amongst so many qualified people, and that was the
Yeah.
beginning point. So no godfather, didn't know anybody. I didn't even know what this organization was. But remember, Esther, when I was a young
Mm-hmm.
girl, I had a
Mm-hmm.
dream to work and support young poor children to access
Mm-hmm.
education. And so
Mm-hmm.
I this is the organization that I have worked for. I love World Vision. I love what we do. And so fast forward, I was promoted from one level to the other. When my contract would be
Mm-hmm.
near end or end, my
Mm-hmm.
contract would be renewed. And I worked so
Mm-hmm.
hard. I work really hard. My boss would tell you, all my bosses will tell
Mm-hmm.
you that I'm those people who outperform. I do my best, because we
Mm-hmm.
the work that we do is we
Mm-hmm.
touch people's lives. We touch
Yeah.
people's lives. And so I remember that last year, before I
Yeah.
came to the UK, my contract
Mm-hmm.
was coming to an end. And I knew that was the last contract with World Vision. I wanted to go into business. And in any case, our organization, charity, if you're there, you remember, was restructuring. And we were changing the way we work. And the
Mm-hmm.
degree that I did was social science. And social science is not a specialist. You're a generalist. And I remember I got a
Mm-hmm.
6 months contract at that time. Major project that I was managing in Turkana, and a close
Yeah.
and other small projects across Kenya. And
Mm-hmm.
and I remember one of the ladies in our current office here in the UK coming for
Mm-hmm.
field visit, and I was very annoyed that she had that my boss then, operations director then, I know he doesn't mind me mentioning Jeremiah Nyaga, one of
Mm-hmm.
my mentors. I remember walking to his office, and I asked him, Jeremiah, why have you accepted this girl to come? She might interfere with a visit, the donor visit, and it might not end up
Mm-hmm.
very well. But I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
that girl would be the person that God would use. Now, I told her, so and
Mm-hmm.
so, my contract is ending in April, but I would make
Mm-hmm.
sure that you have final report of this project that is funded by UK government, and you have
Mm-hmm.
everything that you need for this project before I transit from World Vision. But even
Mm-hmm.
at that time, I had been invited
Mm-hmm.
by my friends to Finland, together with my children, to go for my friends, one of the donors' 50th birthday, but also to support them in fundraising. And so I
Mm-hmm.
talked to my boss then, and operations director, and I told him, Jeremiah, my contract is coming to an end in March, because it was a
Mm-hmm.
6 months project, a 6 months contract then. Although I had worked
Mm-hmm.
for the organization for many years, but when an organization is restructuring, no one is spared. And I told him,
Mm-hmm.
I have this invitation to fundraise for a project in Kariobangi, Korogocho, which I was managing before I moved to the national office. And you know my
Mm-hmm.
heart for young people, especially in slums. This is something that I would love to do. And the donor is
Mm-hmm.
paying my ticket anyway. And the operations director did not come back to me immediately. He consulted with the CEO of World Vision, the national
Mm-hmm.
director then, and they approved my trip to Finland together with my children. And they also
Mm-hmm.
confirmed my contract would be extended to the end of that year.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to Jeremiah and Dickens today. I know they don't mind me mentioning them at all. And I went
Yeah.
to Finland, and people would
Yeah.
ask me when we were coming, when I was coming, when I returned, Lydia, how can you return? You were already in Finland with your children. You would have disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
I told them, oh, that's not how I work. That's not how God works. But I do
Yeah.
remember when we were crossing the airports, I remember telling
Yeah.
my children, I feel
Yeah.
like God is going to remove us from Kenya, remove me
Mm-hmm.
from the graveside because I was still mourning and mourning
Mm-hmm.
heavily and not moving
Mm-hmm.
forward. And I knew my in-laws hated me, and I knew that I just needed another life. And I told Deborah,
Mm-hmm.
Deborah, see how people crisscross these airports, because I maybe I might relocate from Kenya and you might follow me.
Yeah.
Fast forward, when I returned, when that girl came who was from this office here, and I told her my contract
Mm-hmm.
was coming to an end, she requested me to
Yep.
send her my CV because there were openings here in the UK. And
Mm-hmm.
I looked at her and I was like, I am not that level. You know, in an
Mm-hmm.
office, there are senior managers who would be
Yeah.
promoted to another office or who would deserve to go to
Mm-hmm.
another office. But
Yeah.
the previous year, I had come to the
Mm-hmm.
UK for an international workshop, and I had
Mm-hmm.
visited Milton Keynes where I live. And I remember the host who hosted me after the conference telling me there is an
Mm-hmm.
office in Milton Keynes.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because I had told her, Esther, I am
Mm-hmm.
not going to stay long in the organization. If you
Mm-hmm.
get an old man who is willing to marry me, please refer him to me. Even if he doesn't see, I will make him see with
Okay.
love. And
Okay.
because I really wanted to get out of Kenya. But I remember that
Yeah.
lady telling me there is a Milton Keynes, you can be transferred there. But I knew I wasn't that level. I wasn't a senior
Yeah.
person. I didn't have the
Yeah.
qualification that maybe they would be looking for. But here I
Mm-hmm.
was. I came back from Finland, and the first email was from that lady
Mm-hmm.
who had come from
Mm-hmm.
our office in the UK asking me to send her
Mm-hmm.
my CV again, reminding me. And I said, this girl is a kiherehere. You know those people who just, she's not even, who is she to want to
Mm-hmm.
give me a job or refer me? But anyway, I said,
Mm-hmm.
anyway, let me ask my mentor. And I remember talking to Jeremiah, who is my mentor, and I told him,
Mm-hmm.
Jeremiah, there
Mm-hmm.
is this job in World Vision UK, and I have been
Mm-hmm.
requested to do a pre-check, but I don't feel confident. Jeremiah told me, Lydia, you have to apply for that position. You have to send that, whatever they're asking you to send, today and not
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow. And it was like pushing me to the end, to the deep end. And I went back to my house, and
Mm-hmm.
I wrote the CV very well, edited a few things, and
Mm-hmm.
there it was. Sent it to the UK office. After a week, my
Mm-hmm.
children came back for midterm, and I remember
Mm-hmm.
praying with them. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember writing it down again. And I told God, God, I would love to relocate to an English speaking country, either
Mm-hmm.
US. I don't like US very much, but it could be US, it could be England.
Yeah.
But I want you to relocate me. And I don't want to go doing other jobs. I want to do the jobs the job that I do. A month after, I was invited for the interviews. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't sure that they had not, that I was the right person. But I sat for the
Mm-hmm.
interviews. I passed, Esther. And, the job had been opened widely. So it was, they were getting applications from everywhere. But amongst
Mm-hmm.
the people who were interviewed, I was picked to go
Mm-hmm.
to the second level interviews. I went to the second level interviews. It was a 4 hours. I remember 4 hours interview. I
What?
crashed it
Mm-hmm.
after a week again. And there were so many people who
Mm-hmm.
helped me, by the way, along the way, to prepare for my
Mm-hmm.
interview and so on. I
Yeah.
won't mention that here. But in July, I resigned from World Vision. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
crying during the welfare, saying, when I got the
Mm-hmm.
6 months contract, I prayed to God and I told God, I am a widow. And this is one of my streams of income. In as much as I was doing
Mm-hmm.
other little business, this is the main
Mm-hmm.
stream of my income. Please God, I will not be sacked by this organization. I will resign myself into better
Mm-hmm.
pastures, to greener pastures, to better
Mm-hmm.
places. I didn't know. In July, I resigned from
Yeah.
World Vision Kenya, and my journey to the UK started then. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember going back when my position was confirmed and we initiated
Mm-hmm.
the visa process, which is a long
Mm-hmm.
process. And there were
I
many
know.
angels that were sent my way to support me
Mm-hmm.
at the right time. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
we'll talk about that another time. Angels
We
that
will.
appeared when I needed my
Mm-hmm.
documents certified, the NARIC to certify that my degree was assessed in English. I remembered a
Mm-hmm.
lady, Esther, and
Mm-hmm.
Anna, who we were in high school together, and they helped me
Mm-hmm.
to get my paperwork certified in a matter of minutes. In a matter of
Mm-hmm.
minutes, in a bureaucratic Nairobi university. And my
Mm-hmm.
journey to England started then. And I told my children that, yay, we
Mm-hmm.
will be processing our visas very soon. And they were
Hallelujah.
excited. But I
Mm-hmm.
remember looking at that
Mm-hmm.
photo. And I don't even remember how I took that photo when I was
Mm-hmm.
desperate, and how
Mm-hmm.
I prayed to God to change my story. And I looked at it again and I started crying,
Mm-hmm.
reminding God that, God, I would love my story to inspire one person that thinks
Mm-hmm.
that you need a godfather to relocate to another country, that you need someone to go through a panya route, to do
Mm-hmm.
the things that you love, to
Yeah.
remind them
Mm-hmm.
that there is a
Mm-hmm.
Father, there is a God who loves us with an
Mm-hmm.
everlasting love. And I've been here in England. And yes, 5 years now, we are settled. We've got our indefinite leave to remain. We are settled
Mm-hmm.
here in the UK. And so Kenya is our second home. Thanks to World Vision UK, the organization that I
Yeah.
love so much, that have supported me over and over. I joined in supporting the Southern Africa countries. I now
Mm-hmm.
manage staff. I have staff who report to me, and
Mm-hmm.
they manage programs across the world. They do fundraising for projects across the world. And I can only
Mm-hmm.
say that there is beauty in ashes, and God is able
Amen.
change your
Amen.
story regardless of where
Amen.
you who you are. He is not a
Yeah.
respecter of persons.
Lydia, I cannot be tired of listening to your story. I can listen to your story mpaka kesha, throughout. So what we've been looking at from the very beginning, people may have wondered, why did Esther carve it the way I carved it? One of the things you have done is just to confirm some of the notes I had written, and to do with all the events of life. When we go through the events of life from the day we were born, yeah, from there's one of the teachers here, Tabitha Gikanga, who says from a womb to tomb. Yeah. Now, from the day we were born, God the Father was there, right? And one of the
Yeah.
things He asks us to do is to trust Him. Because when I was asking earlier on my Facebook friends, what is one thing that keeps relationships going? And I think I had asked that at the beginning. I didn't let you answer, but what's one thing that keeps relationships going? One of them is trust. Now, that trust
Yeah.
had started with your husband. Your husband trusted you, you trusted your husband. But then you also, both of you, trusted God, and you keep on trusting God and you respect God for who He is. But you're also self aware of who you are, a child of God, and you can rely on God. And the other thing you have is an open communication with God. So our
Yeah.
relationships, it's not just about we with our children, it's also like
No.
we with our God, because we are the children of God. And therefore, we need to examine ourselves. You know, people say, oh, I believe in myself. No, 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 no. Your belief in yourself cannot take you very far. Look, you are looking for an old muse, right? To
Yeah.
marry or
Yeah.
something, some connection. If you could have done through that path, I can tell you where you
Yeah.
could have ended. You could have gone back to square one. You know, the house help job you are doing.
Yeah.
That's where Esther started. Okay, I didn't look like for a Kamze. I came here as a student, but I started as a house help. So for 4 years, I did the house help job while I was studying at the university. And I continued to do that until I started now improving myself slowly by slowly. So one of the things is trusting God, the Father, being self aware of who you are before God and before other people, also having that open communication, which we call prayer with God. You are very honest with God. Yeah. Another thing that keeps relationships working and effective is honesty. So when you examine yourself, you tell God, look, this is where I am. I'm desperate, but you've got to help me. And God was very faithful to you. So this ties up with so many of the topics I've been talking about. We are spiritual, fast beings that we are. We are
Yeah.
spiritual. But we are not just spiritual as in this spiritism that people talk about in the New Age and all that. We are spirit because the Holy Spirit of God is in us and He's given us this body. So when I look at that very dark body that I saw earlier on the Facebook post, and even the other pictures of maybe that were not very good, and then compared to this glorious body, God glorifies us because He shows His glory through our lives, which is amazing. You're glowing even tonight. There is a glory over you. You're just glowing even tonight. So we are spirits. We have the Holy Spirit of God. And even Mugatawa Moyo, our Reverend Mugo, who was just before, he was saying about God being somebody we need to respect. He's a father, he's a holy God that we need to respect. That's the other thing that keeps relationships going. No no jokes with God. We have to take God seriously because He does His things the way He does them. And then God helps us through our intellect. How did you succeed in 4 levels of interview in a high level job? Yeah, I look at those jobs sometimes. Even the other day, I was saying, I'm going to look. By the way, I went and looked at those jobs and I'm thinking, no, I can't do that. No, I cannot do that. No, 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 I cannot even do that. I don't want to try that. So I was trying the lower level job of World Vision. I'm thinking, I could try that, but not this one, not this one, because you're looking at the demands, the whole list of the things that you're supposed to be doing. I can't be able to look at the beads. I can't be able to look at the grants. I can't be able to, I'm saying I cannot be able to do this. But when God is there, there's nothing that is impossible. Then God looked at your finances. The C is commercial. God looks at that. God looked at your emotions. That particular day when you're crying and letting everything go, you lay everything bare before God. And guess what?
Yeah.
God has helped you to build a relationship with Him, with your
Yeah.
children, and with a number of many other people. Nobody lives
Yeah.
independently. God works through people. So He's given you an independent life, but you have to work interdependently with others. World Vision has brought you here, but you didn't just come in here. You've been to so many places. And that testimony of being a widow and raising orphans is the same thing you do at a wider capacity. You told me about that street boy you have helped. The one you normally tell you could employ me now because now you have raised yourself to this level. God was preparing you very painfully, but He prepared you for the best platform. Now, Lydia, I think we could talk and talk and talk, but I think we need to
Yeah.
say good night from where we are and let the people go and eat lunch, the Americans, because it's about 2 o'clock where they are. So we will allow them to go and eat lunch or a late lunch while we kind of go to bed very soon. We will extend this topic. Another day when you have time, I'll bring you back. Now we will start the coaching in a way. now breaking down all these bits that you have told me, so that if we have somebody who is going through hopelessness, somebody who's going through grieving, somebody who is going through maybe raising children, teenage children, young adults, and all that, somebody who is moving from one country to the other. And then the other thing Josie was asking me, if we could find a lawyer in the UK here who could also explain to us some of the laws that influence the UK, she'll be very happy. I think that's what she told me. But above all, we must remain trusting to God. And then we must examine ourselves and see, where are we starting from? And then what need or what purpose has God called us to serve? You are serving a very good purpose. You're feeding the world, you're taking care of the world's children, plus their families, because once a child is raised, then the parents are able also to be raised to another level. So thank you very much. Do you have any other general comment you can make as we plan to leave the studio very soon? And I'm so delighted. I'm feeling so happy that you took it on. So any general comment you can tell the world and encourage them as we're just about to leave. And before I move on, let me just see some of your friends who have also kind of joined in before while we were talking. So there's a lady called Mary Size. She's present. John Karuri say, so amazing and inspiring. Again, Esther Measure Sim says, total faith in God. Elijah Chiwe says, glory be to God. He is faithful. Christine G. Karinga says, Lydia, my friend, I am blessed by your great testimony. Blessed forever, daughter of Zion. And Esther Karaoke saying, Amen. Present, Apathika, Wetavia. And then Samuel Kimani is watching. And Josie is saying, thank you so much, Lydia, for sharing with us. You are such a blessing. Welcome back. I'll bring you back. We'll bring you back because we need you to talk to us a little bit more. And then we'll bring something of John Maxwell as well, adding value to other people's lives as we go on. And then Virginia is saying, this was such a powerful encouragement. Sure, we got today. Great work, Esther, with guests. So we started with Stella. She's a young adult. But your story, I know she'll be listening to this later on, will encourage her, because that's where we all begin the journey as a young adult. She's very young, but we build our life like that, and we can look back and tell a story. You're a very good storyteller, by the way. Tunaweza keti tu hapa hivi, we can sit down listening to you because you're a very good storyteller. I don't think if you're even reading notes, you are just telling the story. So that's a very great gift you have, and thank you so much. So tell us your final word, and then we can be planning on for next time.
And thanks, Esther, and thanks for having me. I sum it up. Eight. It's for us to know that God is 100% faithful. Slogan: God is not 99.999% faithful. God is 100% faithful, and He wants to know that His character is love. He is our Father. Number two, give flowers to people when they are alive. Don't wait until you take them to the graveside to show them that you love them. And that is why I love people. I love telling my story. And in what you're doing, Esther, is giving flowers to hundreds and hundreds of people through this very inspiring channel. And of course, to thank Kenya Diaspora Media, Jeremy Damaris, and the good work that he is doing. It is truly demonstrating God's character, his character of love. And as we reach out to the wider community and serving God, you know what God does, those things are never forgotten. And we will never be forgotten. Anyone going through struggles, reach out. Reach out to us. Reach out to me. Reach out to Esther. We want to give you flowers when you're still alive. We don't want to take them to the grave. Hug people when they are huggable. Not now when there is COVID, but before COVID. Let them feel your heartbeat. And we want you to make sure, we want to make sure that you feel our heartbeat of love, our heartbeat of concern as we coach you, mentor you, support you in whatever we do. And we see that, Jeremy Damaris does it so well. in reaching out to people. May God bless you, and I look forward to another session with you. Bless you.
We'll do one. We'll do one. And then just a closing verse. I had a number of them on trusting God. One of them is the very familiar one that says, Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, the plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. And when I am afraid, this is Psalms 56:3-4. When I am afraid, I put my trust in you. God, in you, God, whose word I praise. In God I trust. I shall not be afraid. What can flesh do to me? So we go in the strength of God. We go in that confidence, knowing that God desires the best for us always, always, always. And I like the way you've said it. Love. Love is the power that binds us together. Love is the power that drives us, is the power that drove God, even Jesus, to die on the cross for us. So we must keep on cultivating that love. And yes, let's enjoy the flowers while we are alive. Give me the likes, give Lydia the likes. And thank you so much, yes, CEO Jeremy Damaris, for allowing us on his wall, because there was another event on the other side. So we were thinking we'll be on the radio only. So we thank God for this platform. He's given us his own house, his own page. So we thank God for that. Thank you so much, Josie, being on the Mitambo. Thank you so much. And as we step out, please give us a good song, as well as Stella. We can't forget you. Thank you so much, Virginia Morimi, for allowing Stella to be with us today. So much love to Stella, much love to Lydia, much love to everyone, the KDM team. There was another team on the WhatsApp on this other side. Lucy Minor as well has joined us. So thank you so much, everybody who's been listening to us and just supporting us. We thank God for everything. So Josie, if you could give us a song, we will be signing out. And unless you want us to come back and say goodbye, I think we can say a very good night. And thank you, Lydia, for being a fantastic guest. Thank you, Stella, as well, for being a fantastic guest. We thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. And we can dance to the tune. Rore bogoina.
Rore bogoina, rore wira wakwa. Nyanirira juge ngai wakwa ni ahotaga. Maria maremaga mundu, ena mahotaga. Icidingikira nacio ninde kuonyumbure. Toro ni kuraya, ngai andutite. Ndakuririkana ngai gwataingiita maithori. Ndikuimagini thina na ruo runene. Ndagutire mundu no mwonge njehogoreire. Njiri wa kwendeka ithanda igwiriro. Ithabu-ini ria ndomata ndingioneirwo andu. Toro ni kuraya, ngai andutite. Ndirikanaga ũguo ngai gwataingiita maithori. Aciari nĩ manderire na wendo mũnene. Urutani wao mwega takariganĩra. Na tondũ ngomatũire ndegeire mĩtego. Nĩangwatirie ngĩgwa gĩterenge-inĩ gĩake. Kuma hau andũ aitũ tathikĩrĩriai. Ndayona gĩkeno gĩakwa igĩtuĩka kĩeha. Mĩrigo yarĩ mĩritũ na mathĩna maingĩ. Ndirikanaga ũguo ngai gwataingĩita maithori. Njĩrĩ wa kwendeka ithanda igwĩrĩirwo. Ithabu-inĩ rĩa ndomata ndingĩoneirwo andũ. Toro nĩ kũraya, ngai andutĩte. Ndirikanaga ũguo ngai gwataingĩita maithori. Mũndũ wamuone mũthaka kana mũrũngarũ. Igua ciarĩirwo arutĩirwo thogora mũnene. Mawĩra marĩa maritũ nĩmo ndarutaga. Mbeca ndanyita ikombũka ta rũkũngũ rwa thĩ. Ngĩhinyĩrĩrĩka ngoro yakwa ĩkĩinama. Nginya ngĩoya kuona ta ndombirwo na mahĩtia. Toro nĩ kũraya, ngai andutĩte. Ndirikanaga ũguo ngai gwataingĩ moigaga harĩa wakinyĩra mũico hau nĩho Ngai witũ ambagĩrĩria ndakinyĩte mũico ngorwo nĩ hinya no Ngai akĩnjiguĩra tha akĩnjikia mbere na tondũ kũrĩa andũ mana ũrĩa ndarĩ rĩrĩa ndĩmere atĩ nĩ kũrĩ na mwĩhoko tondũ nĩ kũraya Ngai andutĩte ndirikanaga ũguo ngaigua ta ingĩita maithori nĩrĩ wa kwendeka rĩrĩa ndaiguĩrĩirwo ithabu-inĩ rĩa mabata nĩingĩoneirwo andũ tondũ nĩ kũraya Ngai andutĩte ndirikanaga ũguo ngaigua ta ingĩita maithori nĩrĩ wa kwendeka rĩrĩa ndaiguĩrĩirwo ithabu-inĩ rĩa mabata nĩingĩoneirwo andũ tondũ nĩ kũraya Ngai andutĩte ndirikanaga ũguo ngaigua ta ingĩita maithori
Ngarisha na Optiven. Optiven welcomes you to our newest baby on board. Harpy Gardens in Kitengela is strategically located only 1.5 kilometers off tarmac near the KG University. Transformation in this project has just started. We are creating a super gated community just for you. It's time to add value. Borehole drilling is now complete, beacons are in place, and what's more, road marming is ongoing. Buy a plot of land at Happy Gardens today and watch your property taking shape and increase in value. An eighth of an acre is going for only 1.795 million Kenyan shillings cash or pay through our 12-month installment plan. Deposit 995,000 Kenyan shillings and get a free washing machine for your home. Ngarisha na Optiven.
Inspiring possibilities with Optiven. With Optiven. Dirikanaga wendo waku ũrĩa ũnyendete naguo wendo mũingĩ ũtarĩ ũcuke na wendo mũkinyanĩru ũtũmaga ndĩrirĩrie gũikaraga ndĩnyihĩtie gũgũthingata makĩria wendo waku nĩ ũhotaga ndũkareke ngariganĩrwo nĩwe ũrĩa wananyonia ndĩ mũhuro ũyũ wariũa ndũkareke ngariganĩrwo nĩwe ũrĩa wananyonia ndĩ mũhuro ũyũ wariũa amone mathirete arĩa nginao makoja ĩndĩ wendo waku Ngai ũtũraga ũmenyereire nĩguo ndikananirwo nĩ mĩguĩ mĩũru ya ngoma ndũkareke ngariganĩrwo nĩwe ũrĩa wananyonia ndĩ mũhuro ũyũ ndũkareke ngariganĩrwo nĩwe ũrĩa wananyonia ndĩ mũhuro ũyũ wariũa kũrĩa nyumĩte gũtirĩ ũngĩahotire kũruta ngoro ĩno yakwa hatĩka-inĩ ya mathĩna tiga nĩwe waingĩrĩire ndũkareke ngariganĩrwo nĩwe ũrĩa wananyonia ndĩ mũhuro ũyũ ndũkareke ngariganĩrwo nĩwe ũrĩa wananyonia ndĩ mũhuro ũyũ wariũa ndũkareke ngariganĩrwo Utore udathimite Ndathimira nyumba yakwa Wira wa moko makwa Maundu makwa mothe Ndukareke ngaconoka Ndukareke ngariganĩrwo Nĩwe wothe wananyonia Ndĩ mũhuro wariwa Ndukareke ngariganĩrwo Nĩwe wothe wananyonia Ndĩ mũhuro wariwa Demoro